Hey there and welcome. This is a bit of a first for me doing this whole live stream thing. Never done it before. Previously, I've always just uploaded pre-recorded videos and started using StreamYard. Well, I haven't used it yet. This is going to be the first time, so we'll see how it goes. So this could get very clunky and who knows what the hell I'm doing. And yeah, also my throat is really bad today, so I'm probably going to sound like shit. But as the title suggests, just a collection update to start with, and just some random musings of a idiot metalhead, maybe, not sure. We'll see. But yeah, I'm trying to think. My last video was probably well over 6 months ago, definitely earlier last year, I'd say. Back then I was putting some videos out a bit more regularly, and then I was sort of just more concentrating on my music and stuff like that, writing and recording stuff. I won't go into details and name drop stuff as like shameless self-promotion or anything like that, but yeah, I've just been more focusing on that creative side of things. There was also a period where I didn't really buy a whole lot of stuff, so what I've got to show today is more based on a slow accumulation of stuff throughout sort of half of last year, which isn't really that much, to be honest. Probably got some more towards the end of the year last year, but there was a period where I just didn't buy a whole lot. And yeah, we will. I've got quite a few CDs, quite a few vinyls, and a couple little box things that I have acquired. So yeah, anyone who's watched the episodes in the past probably knows my how I go about things when it comes to collection updates. I don't usually well, it's not that I don't want to delve deep within the underground of stuff, but yeah, a lot of this stuff is quite easily attained and stuff like that. It's yeah, all across the board: black metal, death metal, heavy metal, rock. Yeah, it's pretty all over the place. So let's start. I'll just have a drink because my throat again is killing me. All right, CDs or vinyls first. We'll go these boxes actually. All right, so first up, just put that over there. Limbonic Art, A Dark Star Rising, through Darkness Shall Rise Productions, I think it is, from Germany. Apparently they do really good stuff. I always wanted to get the Dissection one with about 20,000 cassettes in it. Never got around to getting it. I did see it local for a bit, but it's sold out. So yeah, I haven't sort of splurged the $450 to buy it yet. But yeah, this is really cool. Compiling all the early Limbonic Art stuff, all their demo stuff, promo tapes. Nice bit of glare off the foil embossed logo. Yeah, so inside, I'll try not to drop things, and I'm prone to doing that. I've done that before. I've got a cool book in there. The interview actually started out really good, and then Damon all of a sudden just started doing the old school way of just sort of flick through there. I'm trying to get the angles right. It doesn't. I'm very uncoordinated at the moment. Yeah, so it's interview, sort of done in the old fanzine sort of way. But yeah, interesting in the beginning, the interview, and then it sort of just trails off into those one-word answers to elaborate questions. And I was just like, oh, damn it, that sucks. Because I do love a good zine or just interview in general. What else it's got? It's got 2 posters, a flag, which I've already got on the wall over there. and a pin, and of course the cassettes, which I will try and get out. But as we know, when you see people doing these collection videos, sometimes they have a hell of a time getting things back in, whether it's sleeving vinyls or whatever. So this probably happened to me. Sort of comes in the cassettes there. Straighten that up. There we go. What do we got here? We'll go that one first. Just got that cassette there. All made, you know, very or identical to how the originals were. Really budget-looking layouts, and yeah, you just wouldn't know the difference, obviously, apart from the professional sort of tape, I'd say. Even though the tapes look, you know, they look very straightforward. I think that was the. I remember seeing a review of that one in Nordic Vision magazine back in '96. They got a pretty positive review for that, which is very rare in that magazine for a demo band. And considering they were playing that very symphonic style, got that one there as well. So yeah, 3 cassettes and a pin that comes in a cassette cover. So yeah, really cool stuff. There we go. Plenty of corpse paint in, you know, photo posters and stuff like that. And obviously the authentication, is that what you say? The signed thing by Damon. And where did I put the other thing? We'll just put it down. So yeah, that's that. Sticking with Lim Bonic art. This would have to be one of the ugliest looking things I've ever seen, but I had to get it. It's the Lim Bonic Arts 1 through to 4. Just a compilation of their 4 releases at the time, which was 2002 through Hammer Hearts. So up until the Ad Noctem Dynasty of Death album, including the Epitome of Illusions release, which was just re-recordings of the demo stuff. But yeah, since I didn't have the CDs of this, and I don't know, I just had never found a good price for, like, say, Moon and Scorpio and In Abhorrence Dementia. So I'd always, you know, I got Moon and Scorpio, and I had them on CD back in the day, but I've only got the vinyl now. So I picked this up locally for like $40, and I was like, oh, got to grab that. But yeah, really ugly. It's got a booklet in it, but yeah, 4 CDs. I can't work my angles out. There we go. That's more like it. Yeah, very happy to have it. Just worked out better for me to grab this than buy those CDs individually, and it was only $40 Australian. So I don't think the person who was selling it had no clue what they had on hand, really, because it probably goes for quite a bit on Discogs. All right, just going back to fix up the Lim Bonic art box because I lost the cover. Next CD, New Mortuary Drape, Black Mirror. Cool album. I was sort of thinking it was going to go more in the doomy direction, going off the back of that EP from last year. Sorry, 2022. Production-wise, this has sort of gone a bit more. Don't want to say polished. It's a huge production. It's very well produced, but like it's not a raw sounding album or anything. It's quite polished, but yeah, but just massive sounding. But yeah, typical Drape. Probably a bit more going back to the old stuff. You know, probably Secret Sidaria, a little bit of All the Witches Dance in there, but again, because the production's not that murky, sort of sounding like something's crawling out of a crypt or something. It's it doesn't have that same essence and vibe, but I'd say more the music style is and the riffing is more based on the earlier material than say what was the album before that? This one I can't remember. Big Digipack. But yeah, that was a bit more progressive, that one. And this one seems to be like returning to the roots guitar wise, a bit more simple riffing. Still really cool guitar solos in that sort of King Diamond-esque almost vein, and Wildness Perversion's great vocals as usual. And of course, great imagery. They always look great, and they're one of my favorite bands, since back in the day. Always been a big Mortuary Drape fan. It's good to see them actually getting some, getting on a label like Peaceville where they can actually get some solid distribution and, their music out there for people who can actually see it. I think in the past they sort of were on labels that weren't too visible, apart from maybe Avant Garde or something like that, who I remember back in the day their albums tended to, reach the shops here. But yeah, prior to that, some of their stuff was quite hard to find. I can't remember that album. It's still in my head in. It was the one before the EP. Yep, it's gone. Anyway, it'll come to me later. So yeah, good album. It's not a classic, I don't think, but it's very enjoyable album, and anything Mortuary Drape do, I'll buy. I picked up the last Cold album. Cold's a band that I really like, and I also like Toolus and Sark as well. So those three bands, I know Sark's got different members, but he's in all three bands. There's just something about them. Probably more of a Toolus fan. They're a bit more progressive and a bit more going on, whereas Cold are very, very simplistic, groove laden, rock and don't want to say rock and roll, but rock based. I'd say black metal. But yeah, I love this stuff. Love all their earlier albums, and they just keep doing what they do. They don't change for anyone. So yeah, I'm gonna pick up the new or the latest Tulus album as well, but I haven't picked that up yet. But also read that the new Cold album is being recorded, or might even be on the verge of being out. So they're sort of going through a phase at the moment where they're very creative and putting out stuff with both bands. And Sark's always putting out stuff with that band. So yeah, cool album, cool band, Cold. We got Red Harvest. Yeah, the compilation's called Anarchaos Divine, the Trinity of the Soundtrack to the Apocalypse. So yeah, compiling 3 albums here. We've got Cold Dark Matter, Sick Transit, Gloria Mundi, Internal Punishment Programs, which I actually haven't listened to that one yet. But Cold Dark Matter is the one where I sort of jumped on board. Originally, that was released on Nocturnal Art Productions. Actually, I think maybe Sick Transit was as well, but this is actually a Candlelight version. But yeah, Cold Dark Matter, really liked that album back in the day. Sort of different from what I was normally listening to at the time. It's quite, I'd say industrial, but really, really cool atmospheric vibe. There was just something about it that really touched me. I enjoyed it a lot, considering what else was going on at the time, which would have been a lot of circus-esque keyboards and frilly shirts and whatnot. So and not even black metal. It was just bleak, dark music played by regular guys, I'd say. But yeah, that was signed to Nocturnal Art Productions, obviously Samoth's old label. So he obviously saw something in them. But yeah, the Cold Dark Matter album, big fan of that one. I've got to listen to the other 2 a bit more, but I mainly bought this for Cold Dark Matter and hoping for the best for the other 2. But I was happy to get it. It's got 3 3 albums, and I'll be willing to dive into the other ones. But anyone who wants to check out Red Harvest, definitely check out Cold Dark Matter because it's a cool album. Up next, we have Mysterium Iniquitatis, which was Offamod's last album. He's just put out a split album with, I think it's Poland's Black Altar, which has only just been put out recently. This is probably my least favorite Offamod album. It's still great, but there's just something about it. It's a bit restrained, a bit sort of smooth and slick, sort of lacking something. Not a huge fan of the production on this one. You know, big fan of Thalmiel and obviously the first album, but I mean every album he's done is different. So yeah, can't go wrong. Cool digipack, great packaging as always. Shadow Records put this one out. You can't go wrong with them for that ultra serious, satanic, devilish black metal. And if you like any of the earlier stuff, you're going to like this one as well, I'd say, if you haven't heard it. But also check out the split with Black Altar. And I think there's a compilation of all the 7-inch and all the EP stuff that's recently come out as well. And some of that 7-inch stuff is like fantastic as well. So definitely worth checking out. All right, this one was a surprise from a friend of mine. I got home from work one day and this was waiting for me at the door, and I had no idea what it was. It was like, I haven't ordered anything. First Niflheim album, Necropolis pressing. And I was like, geez. And he was just like, yeah, I don't really listen to it. I know you like them. I was just like, okay, I'll take that. Very raw, crazy, devilish speed black metal from 1994, 95. I bought this back in the day, and it was I enjoyed it, but it didn't hit me. And Niflheim didn't hit me until Devil's Force, the second album, and then I sort of went back to this again. I bought it obviously the first time around. I think I sold it quite quickly, like a lot of stuff I did back then. But yeah, once they got onto Servants of Darkness and stuff like that, you know, they were writing great material. This is great as well. When I've gone back to it, ultra thin guitar sound, almost verging on punky sounding. It's a looked upon as a bit of a classic, I'd say, from Sweden. But yeah, very happy to have this, considering I didn't know I was getting it. It was a pleasant surprise. Ultra budget booklet there. Not much going on there. Classic Necropolis Records stuff from the mid 90s. This is probably the most underground stuff I've really bought. Diabolical Full Moon from Poland. Just had to listen to them online. I think that's the first album. And also the second one in a digipack there. Ultra underground, raw black metal, but in that old Polish sort of style, you know, your old Graveland Velez sort of style, but, you know, obviously a bit... It's very Polish sounding, but there's something else there that maybe harkens to like the French, the Black Legion stuff or something like that. But yeah, really cool stuff. I was just listening online one day and I thought, yeah, I got to get this. It was really hitting the spot. So if you ever feel like some grim Polish black metal like the old days, check out Diabolical Full Moon. Up next, Chaos Horrific by Cannibal Corpse. No secret, I love Cannibal Corpse. Probably more so nowadays than I ever did. Loved, I got into them as a young kid, and it was more the, it was the shock value of it all, I'd say. And then you sort of continue on, and then the bleeding comes out, and it's like, holy shit, the songs rule. These guys are great. It's not just about the shock value of the lyrics and the covers. That, you know, there's some substance musically there. This one, I think it's their best since Skeletal Domain. I've sort of gone back to Red Before Black and have an appreciation for that now, but for a while that was my least favorite. Violence Unimagined is pretty solid, but I think this is a lot better. There's some cracking songs on your second album with Eric Rutan. Obviously, him still handling production stuff, and the guitar sound is fantastic on this. Never been a massive fan of these drum productions. You know, they can get a bit muddy, and just not my cup of tea. But yeah, I can't complain about this album. Favorite tracks are the ones written by Rob Barrett. He's just come up with some crackers here. Summoned for Sacrifice. Vengeful Invasion's probably my favorite off this album. So yeah, again, Cannibal Corpse just deliver the goods. They don't put out bad albums. They know exactly what they're doing, and they deserve all the respect in the world. They're a hardworking band, and they do what they do. Up next, we have Bethlehem's, I will not pronounce that, but we'll go with Suicide. Their third album. I like this one better than the second one, but dark metal is my favorite. Just ultra dark and dismal, black and doom metal, or doomed black metal, whatever you want to call it. Really dark stuff. Probably got to be in the right mood to listen to this stuff. Otherwise, it might send you down a grim and dark path to self-destruction. Yeah, I had the first two albums for a long time, and then I just saw this randomly and thought, I haven't got that, and I'll pick it up, and can't complain. Yeah, so better than the second album, I think, but still not as good as dark metal, which is a bona fide classic for me in that style, in that black and doom style. We got the new Talker album, Talker. Great pronunciation there. This one's really progressive, riffs all over the place. It sort of took a while for it to sink in. I was a big fan of the last album, Kong Vinter. Previous to that, the album wasn't as great. I can't remember the title now. Yeah, it's gone. But Kong Vinter was really cool. And then when I saw this has got 4 tracks, so I thought it was going to be more in the constantly atmospheric, slower vein, but it's, 4 tracks all over 10 minutes or around that mark, and they're just chock full of riffs and changes and twists and turns. And yeah, it's big fan of this one. It's sort of it's definitely a grower. That's what I'd say about this one. So it seems to have got mixed reviews from what I've read, but I mean, he can't really do too much wrong at the moment, I'd say. His style is very firmly entrenched, and this is still very much a Talker album, but he's just gone way more progressive in the riffing and just the songwriting in general. Yeah, so can't complain. I don't think it's better than Kong Vinter for me, but yeah, as a latter era, Talker album, very cool stuff. Up next, we got some Russian black metal. For some reason, I got a bit obsessed with this band for a while, and I had one of their albums. Oh, I've had one for about a decade, and the album didn't do anything for me at the time. I was like really underwhelmed by it, and then I came across this one by the Russian band Duskonu. I think they're Russian, maybe they're Ukraine. Pretty sure Russian. And it's just old. It's just really raw, well produced though, and just talented, like Great drumming. The drummer on this is fantastic. Really cool songwriting. When I say ultra talented, I don't mean wanky showing off guitar stuff and just musicianship in general, just but tasty songwriting, particularly the drumming. This is probably my favorite out of the four I've got here. Cold Streams of Death. That's another cool one. And quite varied stuff as well. Those two are probably more rooted in the real traditional black metal. There's some more sort of different stuff on this one offering. And we've got the latest one. And Darkness Was Over, The Surface of the Deep. Which, you know, I need to listen to this one a bit more. But yeah, when I've been listening to these guys, it's been more the first, like, not the first two albums, but yeah, these two here. But yeah, if you want some underground raw black metal, but played very competently and great songwriting, Duskonu from Russia hit the spot. I'll probably find out somewhere that they're like NS or something, and someone will get the shits with me, but I don't give a fuck. All right, up next, Strid from Norway. First time I heard of these guys was like on flyers through. They used to be on Malicious Records, or they had like a 7-inch out on Malicious Records, I think. But yeah, this is like a compilation of everything they ever did. And it's through Kirk Productions from Greece. Kirk. So yeah, tracks 1 and 2 taken from the 94 EP. Track 3 taken from the End of Life demo. 4 to 8 taken from their previous band Malfator Pandemonium demo. And tracks 9 to 13 taken from Malfator self-titled 91 demo. So it's got their pre-Strid stuff and the Strid stuff, which doesn't really entail a whole lot of stuff, but very influential for that suicidal, slower, atmospheric sort of black metal. Yeah, and very worth, you know, hearing what was coming out of Norway at the time. Quite original songwriting. You know, it's sort of, they took that, say, the first Burzum album sound and just twisted it a bit more, and yeah, just made it way more layered and just bizarre sounding. Very cool stuff. Picked up this one, Stormblast by Dimmu Borgir. Had this one back in the day. Was disappointed with this album when it first came out. You know, I bought For All Tid back in, you know, when it was out, and loved that album. And then when this came out, this was very tame and very, you know, lacking aggression. Maybe that's purely to do with the production. But yeah, this is very atmospheric and just sort of, I don't know, it sort of slowly sinks its claws into you, I think. And this version, I've never seen this one before with that back cover. Those of you in Australia will remember the old Modern Invasion sticker there. We still crack jokes about them. Yeah, so not one of my favorite Dimmu albums, either For All Tid or Enthroned Darkness Triumphant. And then honestly, after that, I haven't really... Spiritual Black Dimensions, I know, like a few songs off that. But after that, I don't really know their stuff, to be honest. But had to have it for the collection, and it's a good album, but it's not brilliant stuff, that's for sure. I think in one of the last videos I did months and months ago, I was amassing my Running Wild collection, and I think I had everything apart from this. Under Jolly Roger. where they started doing the pirate theme. Although not everything's pirate themed on this, as Rolf says in the booklet. You know, Raw Ride, obviously about riding stuff or riding bikes or something. Yeah, so, but it kicked off the whole pirate thing. Great album. I don't go much on. I think this is a really cool album. The first two are, and then obviously this. I thought there was a dip in quality for Port Royal, and then they come back flying again for Death or Glory. But yeah, with Running Wild, you know what you're going to get pretty much, and if you're into that style, you'll like pretty much up until a certain point. There was a bit point there where they got very stale for me, but probably after Masquerade, maybe, or yeah, Masquerade was after Black Hand In. So yeah, I'd say Masquerade was probably the point where I could see the decline happening. But classic band, great band. Couple of Magnum CDs. For some reason, I came across Magnum and I was like, this is just great rock stuff. So I got this box set here, which compiles, I think it's the first 4 albums and a archive CD of all their demo stuff from 74 to 76. And it's all in that format of those little slip, not actual CDs, but yeah, just slip CD single type things. Yeah, I was just listening a lot to the album Chase the Dragon, and I was really impressed. The guy's got a great voice. The songs were fantastic. I could really hear where a band like, say, Blind Guardian were influenced by, say, a band like this. I've never read if they're huge Magnum fans, but I can definitely hear it in the vocal choruses and the layering of backing vocals and stuff. Chase the Dragon's obviously my favorite off this, being I smashed the crap out of it. The opening track, Soldier of the Line, absolutely brilliant song. That was on repeat for quite a long time. Great vocal performance. The song The Spirit on that as well. Yeah, so this is a really cool box set to check out, their earlier material. And I got another two, sorry, on A Storyteller's Night. Again, you know, just great stuff. This album follows on after where this ends, so after the 11th Hour CD, and then it goes to this. And I just picked up a random Magnum one, and geez, it looks bad. but it's quite good. It's very late 80s production, huge snare sound, good songs, can't complain, but very, you know, quite sort of synthy at times, you know, very atmospheric, very big sounding rock at, you know, from that era. Not overly heavy, but if you like good songs, very cool stuff. All right, that's the CDs. So we go down to the dreaded vinyls. I won't be taking them out of the sleeves or anything because that turns into an absolute shit fight. First up, and I was just listening to it, so the vinyl's not in here, is Rotting Christ's Triarchy of the Lost Lovers. An album I always remember seeing around back when I was a kid, but missed out. I didn't really check this one out, and I just sort of, this album hasn't hit me, or didn't hit me probably until like the last year or so. I like certain songs on it, but as a whole, it just didn't do a whole lot for me. I much preferred A Dead Poem and even Sleep of the Angels to this. Obviously, leading up to that, the Mighty Contract, Non Serviam, and yeah, this was sort of probably the least that I'd listened to or what was into. It never hit me, but yeah, it's sort of rearing its head up, going up the ladder, because it is really cool stuff, really good production actually. Compared to what they, you know, as much as I like the material on A Dead Poem and Sleep of the Angels, that whole Woodhouse studios from Germany. That sort of weakened it a bit. This has got a really powerful production. Andy Klassen Backstage, Stage One Studios, I think, in Germany. Yeah, deemed a classic by some people. I personally, I got Rotting Christ albums that I like better, but it's a cool album. Up next, we got Born of the Flickering by Old Man's Child, classic mid-90s Norwegian black metal in that, classic style with all the keyboards and the piano stuff, and just very, I don't want to say bombastic because that sounds very lame and wimpy, but this is very riffy, very dark, very competently played. You got Aldran singing on this as well. You got obviously Golda, it's his band. Jodal from Dimmu Borgir joined this, and in that style, I'd say these guys were like way above Dimmu, because Dimmu got big on Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, but that style had already been basically perfected, I think, on this, and way more interesting, a lot more going on guitar wise compared to what Dimmu do guitar wise. This has got synth stuff, but it's more riff based, and to me it's a bit of maybe not these days, it's pretty well, people speak about it as a great album and stuff, but it definitely wasn't spoken about like that in the 90s. It was sort of like I don't know, it just never got spoken about very fondly, but I think it's a really cool album, really underrated album, and definitely worth getting. We've got some more Limbonic art here. We've got Moon and the Scorpio. This is a Flogger Records pressing. I need to get In Abhorrence Dementia on vinyl as well. That's probably as far as I'll go vinyl wise for Limbonic art. But yeah, this is great stuff. I think they had their own style, but they were way on top of a lot of their peers in that symphonic sort of realm at the time. Maybe besides Emperor or something like that. But like when you had bands like Dimmu and all that getting huge, and supposedly on their symphonic side, these guys were smashing the symphonic stuff, and it was really sort of the songwriting was next level, I'd say. Drum machine wise, that's probably where it annoyed people, maybe, particularly on the next album, where the drum machine is very bizarre, and it's got these weird popping crash cymbal sounds, and great album though, I love it, but it's just, I've never heard a drum machine like that. Opening track, Beneath the Burial Surface, is an absolute classic. But yeah, when it comes to the symphonic stuff, I tend to always go for Limbonic art. I saw this one mentioned quite a lot last year. Everyone was blowing their beans over it. That's the Ruum album by Blasphemer, ex Mayhem. And what's that band he's in with David Vincent? Ultimus, sorry. No, I love this. This is great. It's just purely his style. Obviously, if you liked Mayhem, with him in it. So what? Chimera, Grand Declaration of War, Autoraid KO. You'll probably enjoy this. Probably a bit less experimental on some of the stuff, particularly if you're talking about Grand Declaration. But yeah, this is an absolute riff fest. It's dark, and it's just Blasphemer doing what he does best. So it's going to be interesting to see where this project goes. I did hear a podcast with him, and he wants to do, I think it's 2 albums before he even plays live, which is a good point, actually. You do one album, and all you can do is play every song from the one album. So I think that's a good idea. But yeah, cracking album. I think it probably ended up in quite a few end of year lists for people, and it was definitely an album I was listening to a lot last year. All right, up next, Failures for Gods by Immolation. Great band, one of my favorite death metal bands. I'm quite picky when it comes to my death metal. I'm not someone who just goes out and buys everything, especially the newer sort of popular death metal. It doesn't do anything for me. I know it's probably, trendy or whatever to bash newer death metal bands and that, but it's just, for me, it doesn't do anything for me. I don't care if you've got a HM2 sound or whatever. Write some good songs, that's the main thing. But, I mean, these guys have got their own style, and this is coming off the back of I will get that angle going on. There we go. Yeah, coming off the back of Here and After, a very murky album, dark. If you thought they couldn't go any darker than they did on Here and After, you're wrong. It's really murky, really muddy sounding. I still prefer Here and After. That's an album that at the time it didn't click with me. And then once it did, it was it's a classic for me. But classic tracks like Once Ordained, self-titled track, Failures for Gods, God Made Filth, Stench of High Heaven, great stuff, great artwork, and Metal Blade's done a good job with these reissues because they've got posters and stuff like that. So great band, love Immolation. And we have another Immolation album that is Close to a World Below. And this one's actually, it gets spoken about very highly, I've noticed. And for me, it's always been my least favorite out of the first five. I much prefer Unholy Cult to this. And I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's just the songwriting or whatever, but it just doesn't hit me like, the first three and then Unholy Cult. I think Unholy Cult's it's that more stripped back style. And that's what this is attempting to do. But for some reason, it translates better for me on Unholy Cult. No, it's not a bad album at all. It's, if you like Immolation, you'll love this album. But for me, obviously, I'm having it in the collection, but not my favorite Immolation album. All right. I was very happy to pick this one up, which is Shadows of Old by Eternus, an old Hammerheart pressing from 99. I think this album came out. Slightly different track listing from the CD. Side 2, track 1, Resurrection, on CD is track 4. So, essentially track 5 on this. And I've noticed that with the Realm album as well, on the CD version, the instrumental clean guitar song is like later in the album, but it finishes off side 1 on the vinyl. So, it's sort of off-putting when you're used to a CD and then you put a vinyl on and it's changed. And obviously it's to do with the format, but it's not the end of the world, but it's sort of throws me off sometimes. This is, to me, a classic. A lot of people speak about the first 2 Eternus albums and the Dark Sorcery album, mini as well. But to me, this is the perfect mesh of the first 2 and where they go in the sort of more death metal realm. You've still got those epic melodies on this one, but like with a song like Resurrection, bringing in more of those chunkier riffs, almost deicide like, but in the style of Eternus. Absolutely love this album. A lot of memories attached to this one. Going around camping and hiking and stuff like that. Particularly back in that 99, 2000 period. Pretty crappy artwork for the time. Probably sums up 1999, 2000. But don't let that throw you off. This is a great album. Got a few more Returnus ones, or two more. This one's Hexaon. I think it's from 2006. Never really liked this when it came out. Didn't like the artwork. They sort of lost a lot of their mystique. And, you know, they were going for more of a straightforward death metal sort of style. But I've come around to this one. For what it is, it's cool. It's not atmospheric or anything, but very competent death metal. Last album with Vrolok on drums, I think, for them guys. So you know, he was one of the mainstays. I mean, he was there from the early days and forged the sound with Ares, and Vrolok's one of my favorite drummers, particularly on that early material. But yeah, cool album, but not a classic at all. And I mean, not great artwork. And I also picked up And Seventh His Soul Detesteth. They had a bit of a break for a while and decided to put this one out, and it's cool. They went to a different studio this time. That last Hexaon album was at Grieg Harlan. Their last album at Grieg Harlan, and this one was at Earshot Conclave. So a bit more cleaner sounding. Still playing more of a death metal style, but definitely bringing back some of the atmospheric and elements from the past, but not a lot. But there's some great there's a great acoustic moment in the track Silesia, which sort of harkens back to the early days. It's a cool album, but again, I think they've sort of, maybe this was the start of the path back to bringing in some of those older elements, and they've sort of done that well on the new album, to be honest. Even the one before it, Heathen, the new one, The Philosopher, I think it's called. Haven't got a copy yet, but from everything, you know, I've heard on Spotify and that, and I've listened to it quite a few times. It's yeah, really cool album, really atmospheric, but definitely an Eternus album, which I'm happy about. All right, up next we got Cetherial, Lords of the Night Realm. Definitely one of my favorites of the blasting Swedish style. They sort of got lumped in with the whole Marduk thing and Dark Funeral back in the day, and I think they got massively overlooked, considering I think they were doing a lot more musically interesting compared to some of those bands at that period, which this would have been 98, which would have been Nightwing for Marduk and Vobiscum Satanas for Dark Funeral. Good album, actually. I'm not going to talk shit about Vobiscum Satanas, but to me, that's where a bit of a decline there for Marduk. Heaven Shall Burn, to me, is a cool album, but just getting a random message. There we go. We'll get rid of that. Yeah, so I feel they sort of got lumped into that hyper blasting, which they were, you know, the ultra fast band, but I think they had more to offer with their melodies and just in general better songs. And yeah, every album from Cetherial's really cool. Obviously the classic Nord, you know, you can't go past that, but End Time Divine, their fourth album, I think is massively overlooked. But yeah, had to pick this one up. Hopefully Soul Cellar do a reissue of Hell Eternal, third album. I'd like that rather than go for the old Perverted Taste version. This one was on a lot of end of year lists as well. Black Medium Current by Dodamsgard. You know, this it's a great album. What can be said? Haven't listened to it as much as I probably should have. Every time I listen to it, it's fantastic. But excuse me, it's not something I felt that I could sit down and listen to a lot. Maybe it's just too much of a to take in, or maybe I just wasn't willing to go on that journey very often. But when I did, I really enjoyed it. Track 2, Oh God, should I pronounce this? Tonka Spinner and Smerta. How good was that? Classic track. And yeah, a different album like they always do compared to Aombra Amiga. That was a complete mindfuck and a lot harder to get into. Very muddy, but just, yeah, this one's got more production wise. It's a lot bigger, a lot more, what's the word? I don't want to say easier to get into, but yeah, it's just a lot clearer. And you know, at first listen, people are going to not be thrown off by you know, like a muddy Autorade KO-esque production, which I thought Aombra had. Yeah, it's quite a big sounding album, to be honest. Very expansive sounding, and the music itself is expansive. So yeah, a lot has been said about this. I probably haven't got much to add. It's a huge album, and it really deserves your full attention when listening to it. It's not something you can just put on and expect to get much out of it if it's just sort of in the background, you know. Yeah, it's actual art, I'd say. Not many bands can claim to be artists these days, or people in general, but I truly believe a band like Dodon's got putting out relevant art. All right, this is another one from my mate who was good enough to send me the Niflheim CD. He just said, "Hey, do you want this? I bought the box set." So he sent me his vinyl of the first Deicide album, which, of course, I'm going to snap that up. Yeah, so this is a 98 pressing. Not that that means anything. I don't give a shit about that stuff. Just I'm happy to have it. Yeah, classic album. First Deicide album is one of my favorite death metal albums of all time, along with Altars of Madness. Evil, aggressive, abrasive. Glenn Benton never sounded like that again. He was just possessed. One of the best vocal performances ever on an album, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, back when Deicide put fear into the parents of young children, you know, Deicide actually had that aura about them back in the day. They weren't a band that many people liked, and they weren't considered a joke like they are these days. Although they put out good stuff, but you know, they've lost that mystique, haven't they? But yeah, great album, love it. I've decided to pick these up. I've got some Nile on CD, but grabbed their second album, Black Seeds of Vengeance, and In Their Darkened Shrines. My two favorite Nile records. I don't mind the first album; it's quite good, and I bought it when it came out back in the day. But when it comes to death metal, I'm quite picky, and it was a bit too muddy, and it just didn't hit the spot for me. Black Seeds, is a great album though. I really love it. Ultra technical, but when they hit the atmospheric side, it really meshes very well. And also on the third album, yeah, obviously a big band. Obviously people have these albums. Yeah, it took me a while to click with Nile. I'm glad they did though, because these two albums in particular. I've got the first 5 on CD, but yeah, these two always tend to. If I'm going to play some Nile, it's going to be these two. Annihilation of the Wicked's pretty solid as well, from what I remember. I haven't listened to it for a while. But yeah, big death metal band, but I think they're good at what they do. All right, and that concludes the collection update. I'm just sort of glad I got that out of the way, since I haven't done a video for a long time. Hopefully it hasn't been too painful for you people out there, especially with my really poor throat and nose. I probably sound like a complete freak speaking, but yeah, it was good to get back into it, and hopefully in the future I can do a few more videos. Probably line up a live stream thing as well to if people want to interact and ask questions and stuff. Not that I am some celebrity who should be answering questions, but just open it up and people can have a chat and whatever. Obviously before I was just doing videos and using Zoom, but now I checked out the StreamYard website and I was like, I'll give that a crack, and it looks pretty good. You can do some different stuff and it's good to get a background, whereas I couldn't do that with Zoom because I was so technologically inept. That's what I'll say. So yeah, I'll try and maybe do a few different things and see how it goes. Probably a couple of ranking videos as well. I want to do a Morbid Angel ranking video. What keeps me from doing that is I always can't decide whether to put abominations in there or exclude abominations. So yeah, there's a few ranking videos I wouldn't mind doing. I was toying with the idea of doing some interviews. Particularly, I wouldn't mind doing an Eternus interview. Obviously, I'd have to tee that up, but I just thought they're doing a new album. They haven't brought one out for a while, and it's a band that I respect and like a lot. And also, they were the first episode I did on Nameless Metal Podcast, which was on Spotify, so it would sort of tie in well with that. But that's quite a bit away. I've got to get the balls up to shoot them a message and see if I can actually coherently speak to someone in a band. Not sure if I could do that, but we'll see. Anyway, I shall take off. Anyone watching, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.